Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and this layout is one where I'm trying to use a lot of scraps. I feel like that's kind of the case throughout this whole month, but I had some leftovers from that Freckle Fawn kit I added to my kit last minute at the end of last month, and I really wanted to just get the rest of it used up if possible. I have a couple pieces of paper and scraps and some chipboard embellishment that I really wanted to try to knock out this month. So I'm pulling in one of my Prima Marketing backgrounds. It's a really pretty pink with rose gold polka dots and on white polka dots, and it's just pretty. And I think it goes really well with the Freckled Fawn kit because it has that soft pink, and the kit also pulls in some aquas and blues. So I'm trying to use this as my background, and then I have two photos here of Billy just at our apartment just being cute. And I'm focusing mainly on this page on getting the Freckle Fawn stuff used up. So I still have one 6x8, I think that is. I matted both of these photos together on some black, and I'm going to use the floral as the big mat behind both of these. And then I'm just going to be playing with the rest of the scraps I have from Freckled Fawn to compose the rest of this page. So that's my main goal. You will see on this one I'm using black ink instead of my ground espresso ink. On this page I'm leaning towards more of the black versus the brown. So I'm trying to keep the ink and everything black as well. So I did make that decision because I know I was trying to use the Distress Oxide in the ground espresso on every layout this month, but this layout was just a black layout. So as far as inking, so I think it went better. So I'm getting this main piece down. I could have gutted a couple of these little bits and pieces, but this is the rest of the Freckle Fawn stuff, so I'm trying to just use it up. Otherwise, I'm going to have random little bits of Freckled Fawn and nothing to use it with. So here's a scrap of the pink. The backside of this is the Tone on Tone Sunburst that I really liked with all the pinks and purples. And I really liked both sides, so I kind of had a complex here about which side to use, and then I realized there's enough of it so where I could use it multiple ways. So I cut it into 3 sections. I'm going to use 2 of those sections on the pink side so it looks like a long vertical piece running behind that floral. And then the sunburst section, I'm going to have a layer coming out to the right. I wouldn't have used the sunburst layer except for there's a chipboard piece that matches that sunburst layer really well. And I feel like in order to use that chipboard piece, the sunburst section needs to be on the page. So I'm using that knowing I will balance out that bold kind of pop of color and design with an embellishment. But I have these 2 main layers down. I still have the scrap of the floral that I trimmed from this mat. The backside is a nice simple diagonal stripe, so I'm going to use the diagonal side to be a layer running down the left and right side of the page. I just have it running down the left side at first, but I have another little scrap here of that diagonal that I'll end up adding so it looks like it runs wider than it actually is to get all those bits used up. And then here's an aqua scrap that I really wanted to tie in. I thought about using it as a horizontal bit here, but then I realized I wanted to accentuate all these vertical layers that I'm doing, so I'll end up doing something else with that. But before I committed, I wanted to just play around with the chipboard from this collection to see how much of it I could get used up. I would have loved to use all of the pieces, but I ended up saving the 2 blue pieces just because this was more of a pink and purple layout. But I did get 3 of them used up, and one of them was that striped tab at the top that plays really well off of the sunburst. I'm layering the arrow on top of it, and then I'm going to use the semicircle floral over to the right where the sunburst is as a base for that cluster. So that's my plan going in. And now that I know that, I want to revisit some of the layers to figure out how to finish that out before I can start gluing down some ephemera. I only had a tiny little scrap of this other diagonal bit, so I did have to stick it a little farther out than I had planned so you could see it well enough, but that created a little gap, so that kind of solved my problem of what to do with the aqua piece because I now needed to cover that gap I created at the top. So I am doing a little notebook edge punch to create a little detail on that edge, and then I'm going to use the scrap of that aqua I just trimmed off at the bottom. So again, hopefully it'll look like a longer vertical piece that runs behind the floral layer. And I just love doing that because it kind of balances all your colors and patterns. What's on the top is on the bottom. And I just like having that balance there because I already have some asymmetry with having this paper coming out to the right. So I'm trying to keep everything else pretty streamlined. So I'm getting that stuff glued down. And then I think I do add one more layer. I'm really focusing on getting all the Freckled Fawn scraps used up, which I do. I'm very proud of myself. This is all the Freckled Fawn leftovers after those 2 pages. So very happy I got all the paper used up. I was really fighting with this sunburst bit because it really looked out of place, but I think once I embellish, it makes more sense. I was just determined to use it. And then randomly, I'm like, we're going to use the Pushing Cat pin as well. So that flare makes it on here. I realize it's a cat and Billy is a dog, but they're both cute and fuzzy, so it's getting on this page. I don't want to hear about it. I'm getting it used up. I've been saving that pin forever and ever and ever to use on a page of my cat because she's a gray cat. And I keep forgetting, and I threw it into this kit determined to get it used. And so it's going on this Billy page. I don't care. It's cute and it goes for me. So that's what I have to say about that. I thought about adding this black and white diagonal, but it was way too bold. I really like how soft everything looks on this page, but I did want one more layer, and I did want a kind of a pop of black because I have the inking in black, and I'm thinking my alpha will be in black. So I pulled in this 8.5 by 11 of this black heart vellum, which I think is really sweet, adds a really nice soft touch, but it brings in that black. So I just decided to have a strip of that running on the left and right side so it looks like one big rectangular map behind everything. I may or may not have just glued down a couple of those chipboard pieces. I think I'm committing to where they're going to sit, so I went ahead and did the striped label and the arrow and the semicircle, I'm pretty sure. I have a couple pieces of this vellum, but I really like it, so I'm being more frugal than I need to, and instead of just using that rectangular block, I'm using 2 strips that are going to tuck on either side because that's all that was showing anyways. And again, I'm going to ink the vellum too. I love the way vellum looks inked because of its translucent. It looks really soft, but you get you really can see the edges of the vellum, which I like in this case. So I'm going to get those inked and stuck down. And then I think I'll finally glue down my layers, but I am going to gut the section of the background that's going to be covered because I really like this paper. And I have a couple papers this month from this collection that I would like to use the scrap of this one on with the other papers, if that makes sense. So now my layers are done. I think I'm trying to eyeball where I need to trim. Am I going to do some more embellishment now? I don't know. I just made this page. Oh, I am going to use a little scrap of this vellum to create a little fishtail banner. I felt like I needed something to anchor the little semicircle chipboard piece. So I did create a little fishtail banner with the scrap of the vellum I just trimmed, which I think is pretty cute. And I went ahead and glued down the semicircle of the flower, which is super cute. The Pushing Cat, I took the pin out of the back, but it kind of left that hollow space, so I had to use like 3 layers of these foam dots to stick it down. But that ended up working okay, so I'm just going to layer that over that little floral semicircle, and I think that's super cute. After that, though, I'm pretty sure we're gutting the background and gluing stuff down. I already know in my head I want to use my favorite thicker ever, which is the black root beer float font. And I already know I'm going to title this Play. Both of these photos I mentioned earlier, Billy was 2-something months old, almost 3 months old, and he's just a little wild child at home. He was very good out in public, which is good because he's trying to be trained to be a guide dog. But when he is at home, he's like a Tasmanian devil. Everyone sees him in public and they're like, you have such a sweet, easy puppy. And I'm like, yeah, sure. You don't see him at home. And he just, all of his shenanigans. I just wanted to document a couple of them. He's so cute. That lower photo, he would always like dive into the entertainment system that has the TV on top of it. He loved hiding in that little nook, and he was so upset the day that he grew to be too big to fit under that TV because he just like wasn't, you could just see the thoughts in his head. Like he wasn't understanding why now all of a sudden he couldn't fit into his favorite little spot. But I definitely wanted to take a picture of that because I always thought it was funny that when he was little, he liked to climb up into that entertainment shelving. So that's that lower photo. Gonna get the background finally now, and then we will also back this in my black paper as I've been doing a lot lately, just for some stability and to patch that hole. So all these other layers have something to glue down on. And then I think we're almost done. I need to do my alpha. I need to do some journaling. But these are the layers, and this is the embellishment. This month I'm noticing I'm doing lighter embellishment, but the embellishment itself is really cool. So I think it's okay. Like the embellishment's more interesting, so it's okay that it's not as layering. I'm trying to play that balance. I think it's working okay. Part of me wants to have really clustery layered embellishment sections. But I think with this kind of stuff, I just want it to let it breathe and kind of stand out, especially that little flare. I just want it to be the little star of that cluster. Here, I'm getting my alphas, so I'm just making sure I have all my letters for the word play. I was thinking initially I would have them vertically running next to that starburst print, but I realized very quickly that these letters are giant and it's going to be too long. So instead of doing it vertically, because the L was also throwing me off, I don't like having a skinny alpha in the middle of trying to stack a title like that, and the L was throwing me off. I decided just to do it horizontal like normal and just spell out play, because I need to do some journaling as well, and I figured if I kind of created that horizontal line, I'm also adding a couple asterisks so I have that black foam at the top too. I love the instant balance and interest that adds. So I always love to do that with these types of alphas. But I decided I'm just going to double line underneath my title just to kind of separate that from my journaling, and then I'm going to do my journaling right under the title to kind of lean into those layers. And it's pretty much just going to say what I already told you. It says, Billy is such a fun, silly boy. He loves hiding under the TV shelves and was both confused and upset when he grew too big. And then I dated this. This was August 28, 2011. So I think that's pretty much it, though. That finished out this page. This one was really fun. I'm glad I got to use up most of that freckle fawn stuff. I think I only have like 2 chipboard pieces left to use, but all the paper is done. Here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.